Good afternoon, I'm Vashon Brown with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. As the reactions continue to Prime Minister Andrew Holness's cabinet reshuffle, one political commentator is urging caution with the move to appoint Dr. Nigel Clarke as the country's finance minister. Yesterday, the Prime Minister announced several changes to his cabinet, including Audley Shaw's replacement. The details from TVJ's O'Shane Masters.
Since the announcement of Dr. Nigel Clarke as the JLP's candidate for Northwestern St. Andrew, there has been speculation about him being the man in charge of the country's purse. But those speculations were finally put to rest on Monday afternoon when Prime Minister Andrew Holness renamed his cabinet ministers. The changes in the cabinet raised a number of eyebrows, but one political commentator, Richard Dickey Crawford, says Dr. Clarke as finance minister in the Holness administration was obvious. However, he issued some levels of caution.
Don't expect Nigel Clarke by himself to do all the miracles.
He also says the country should be careful of the hype which is being placed behind Dr. Clarke.
That's a move that the Prime Minister decided was in the best interest of his party and the country at this point in time. I don't want to get into the position. I think we're probably overrating Nigel to some extent. Remember, Nigel was also a key player, in this 5 for 4, this big growth council business. And that really basically has been shut down.
So you're not sold on...
So I'm saying, well, if you're all that hot, and all of those people in that place are all that hot, what happens there? So, why did that happen?
On the crime front, Mr. Crawford says it is now time for Dr. Horace Chang to bring some semblance of control to crime.
Everything falls now on Horace's shoulders. He knows what is the story in St. James. He is a member of parliament down there. He represents the people down there. He's the Minister of National Security. Everything is going to depend on whether he's going to come out, come forward, deal with the issue of crime, face up to it, know the gangs are related to the political directorate, political parties, and just deal with that.
Mr. Crawford was speaking on TVJ Smile Jamaica. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
It's been over 3 years since the Disabilities Act was passed, and so far little progress has been made to integrate the legislation. Speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica this morning, Opposition Senator Floyd Morris said the legislation is at a standstill.
It is going into 4 years since the legislation has been passed, and we have not seen any of the codes of practice. We haven't seen the regulations coming to the disabled community. I have not heard of any consultation taking place where the regulations are concerned. And in terms of setting up the Disability Rights Tribunal, I am not seeing or hearing anything where that is concerned.
He adds that there is not enough funds allocated to the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disability for the upcoming financial year, and the council is in need of more resources. Mr. Morris is urging Minister of Labour and Social Security Shahini Robinson to implement the legislation. The act, which was passed on October 10, 2014, was to ensure full and effective participation and inclusion of persons with disabilities in the society. The People's National Party is again calling for Prime Minister Andrew Holness to immediately provide the Electoral Office of Jamaica, EOJ, with funds for re-verification of the voters list. It says this is necessary if the exercise is to take place before the next election. PNP General Secretary and member of the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, Julian Robinson, issued a statement that the party had taken note of a commitment given last weekend by the Prime Minister that funds would be provided to the EOJ to complete the re-verification before the next general election, which is constitutionally due by February 2021. He said the funds would need to be allocated to the EOJ in the 2018-2019 financial year to allow it to begin preparations for the re-verification, which it estimates can take up to 2 years. A St. Elizabeth man who was held in 2016 with a large quantity of ganja pleaded guilty yesterday to breaching the Dangerous Drugs Act when he appeared in the St. Elizabeth Parish Court. Jason Headley pleaded guilty to the charges of possession of, dealing in and trafficking of ganja. He was fined a total of $166,000 or 3 months in prison. He was also given a 4-month mandatory sentence. If the fines are not paid, he will have to serve 7 months in prison. The court was told that on September 1, 2016, members of the Area 3 Narcotics Police were on routine operations along Higgs Street in Black River when a vehicle driven by Mr. Headley aroused their suspicion. Now, the vehicle was followed onto Crane Road, where it was stopped and searched, where several plastic bags containing ganja were found. He was subsequently taken into custody following questioning. Now, he was later charged. Residents of Highfield in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, protested this morning about the poor state of roads leading to their community. The residents say the roads have been in a deplorable condition for over 50 years. The residents claim that their Member of Parliament for St. Catherine Central has promised to repair the roads.
We have gotten to the point where at our last meeting we decided to withhold our taxes until something is done, or property taxes, because the number of houses within the community, complying residents, we are sure that we pay more than $1 million a year in property taxes. At least some of that could be spent back on us in the community.
Last week to pay my property tax and I fell over and I turned back. And I don't pay it up till now and I'm not going to pay it until the road fix or help to fix. I need the road to walk on and there's no way for me to walk. And as you can see, there's no road here. And this is my property tax and I can't pay it because there is no road and you can't pay for what you're not getting.
One of the protesters, Gwendolyn Wilson, explained the inconvenience being experienced by the residents.
You're better off walking barefooted to come in here. You're better off not driving at all because once you put your car over there, you have no undercarriage. The children is almost drowning when it rains because of the depth of the water. And besides that, our properties are being run over by water consistently.
Another major issue that the residents would like to see addressed is the overflowing of raw sewage in the community.
We have been inundated by sewage coming into the community, flowing into people's homes, and it cannot be tolerated any longer. We are asking for help in the most serious way because we are being inundated by this filth, so to speak, and we really can't tolerate this anymore.
Stakeholders involved in road traffic management now have the technical expertise to analyze the black box of heavy-duty vehicles. Members of the Road Safety Unit, National Works Agency, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, as well as the Jamaica Urban Transit Company were trained last week. Head of the Road Safety Unit in the Ministry of Transport, Canute here, described it as a step forward in Jamaica's road safety history.
So we will be, in very short order, we'll be able to profoundly execute the black box analysis of heavy vehicles. So it's not only motor cars, light trucks and SUVs we'll be able to do. We are closing the gaps in our road safety matters, and rest assured that we are better empowered than before. And we'll continue to ensure that our road safety apparatus is in hand.
We go now to news overseas. There could be retaliation from Russia over one of the largest mass expulsions of its diplomats in history. This comes after more than 20 countries backed action by the United Kingdom over the poisoning of a former Russian spy. The details from the CNN.
60 Russian diplomats. According to the Trump administration, aggressive spies have 1 week to pack their bags and get out. A dozen Russians will be kicked out of New York at the UN. 48 others at embassies and consulates around the U.S. The Russian consulate in Seattle will be shuttered. Administration officials saying it's too close to a U.S. submarine base. A sharp U.S. response to the nerve agent attack, poisoning former Russian spy Sergei Skripal, his daughter, and others in the U.K.
I think this is a good move by the president and the administration. I'm glad to see it. It sends two strong messages to Putin. One is we are going to hold you accountable for your crimes. And number two, that you're not going to be able to continue to divide and sow chaos and discord in the West.
This move cuts the number of Russian diplomats in the U.S. by 13%. Officials saying this will make the U.S. safer from Russian espionage. More than a dozen U.S. allies also expelling diplomats. And Russia already warning it will do the same right back.
The United States did a very bad step. I'm sure that time will come. They will understand what kind of grave mistake they did.
It's a much harder line than previously seen from this administration, especially from President Trump.
And still overseas, hundreds of people protested in Kemerovo on Tuesday, calling for a full investigation into a shopping mall fire that claimed the lives of 64 people, 41 of them children. Russian President Vladimir Putin, who flew to the city to offer his condolences to the victims' families, blamed the blaze on criminal negligence and promised that those responsible would be held accountable. The fire tore through the Winter Cherry shopping mall on Sunday, the first weekend of spring school holidays, trapping many families who had gathered at a children's play area and movie theater. Russian investigators said the mall's fire exits were blocked and an alarm system turned off. We go now to sports. TVJ Sports can confirm that Jamaican Winter Olympian Jasmine Fenlater-Victorian is the bobsled athlete who returned the positive test for the banned substance clenbuterol following the testing of her B sample in recent days. Keon Raynor has our report.
Based Jasmine Fenlater-Victorian, who served as the driver on Jamaica's historic two-woman bobsleigh team to the Winter Games in Pyeongchang, South Korea last month, is now awaiting her hearing before the International Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation. According to impeccable TVJ sources, Fenlater-Victorian's B sample, which was tested in the week of March 16, confirmed the initial adverse finding to her A sample, which was returned on January 13 from an in-competition test done in Switzerland ahead of the Winter Games. The A and B samples are understood to have been tested at a water-accredited lab in Germany. When contacted on Monday, Fenlater-Victorian's attorney, Mike Morgan, who is based in Britain, declined to comment on the case, only indicating that a date is yet to be set for the hearing. On March 5, the International Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation had indicated that all documents relating to the case would be turned over to their positive case committee for the next steps after the B sample was tested. Meanwhile, chairman of the Sports Development Foundation, George Suter, confirmed on Monday that the government agency contributed £10,000 or approximately 1.8 million Jamaican dollars to Fenlater-Victorian's legal fees.
Well, the Sports Development Foundation was approached in the matter and considered it important and decided to offer the assistance. And I'm able to say that a sum of money that was requested was in fact approved and was dispatched to the attorney about a week ago.
And I gather they requested in the region of £20,000. What was the actual figure granted?
Well, I know that £10,000 was dispatched.
Fenlater-Victorian, whose father is Jamaican, is now facing the possibility of a 4-year ban under the rules of the World Anti-Doping Agency. She previously represented the United States in bobsleigh at the 2014 Winter Games in Sochi, Russia. Reporting for TVJ Sports, I'm Keon Raynor.
I'm Vashon Brown. Don't forget to join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.